my wife was struggling with me because she saw her husband go from a very hateful, angry man into something that fundamentally changed my life, literally, like within a blink of an eye.
All right, Mark. You found me on TikTok.
I did, yeah.
And it turned into a very awesome discussion, and you weren't even able to get into things, so I asked you to come here, and we can dedicate some time here to dig into the meats of it. I guess before we get started, we'll just do it the same way. Tell us what your belief on the afterlife was prior to your experience.
I was on the fence. I had no idea. I was a Christian-born individual. My mom was a devout Mormon, and my father was an atheist. So I didn't know what to believe. Had no idea. Did I go to church? Yeah, only until I was about 8 or 9 or 10. And then after that, I kind of was reading these books, and I didn't believe anything that these books were saying. At the time, nothing. I was like, nah, there's no such thing as God, in my opinion. And if there was a God, I asked the same questions that the majority of people asked, which was, if there was a God, why do we have kids and people suffering all the time? I had this question of, like, where's God during times of war? And why does life seem to never work for me? Why does it seem so hard?
When did your experience start? How old were you when this happened? How long ago?
This was 2012. So it was 14 years ago that this experience happened. And I was 34.
And what okay. And then what happened?
You want me to get into the whole thing,
Yeah.
Okay. So it was New Year's Eve, 2012. I was with my daughter at home. My wife was working. She was a waitress at a local pub. I never drank, and I never did drugs, just so you people know. It wasn't an acid trip. It wasn't something that was reoccurring, and I was in a stable right of mind. And it happened just out of the blue. It was around 11 o'clock at night, and my daughter, she was sleeping, and I was by myself, like I said, in the house, waiting for my wife to get home. And I was in the living room of my house, and I was in the living room. I was feeling a little off, a little weird. Something just didn't feel right, but I wasn't really paying too much attention to it. When I was looking at my TV, which was turned off, and then all of a sudden I felt this immense pressure on my body that was keeping me to sit down, sit on the couch. And so I sat on the couch, and I felt something was kind of holding me down. It wasn't aggressive. It wasn't anything brutal. It was just holding me down. And the TV turned on. And it was on this show. I don't even know what show it was. I don't think it even had a title, but it was showing everything wrong in the world today. It was showing war, famine, all the diseases, all the nasty things that human beings have done to each other over the past century, decade, even up to like the week prior. And I was watching all the pain, all the suffering that was happening in the world around us. I was watching just atrocity after atrocity, and I couldn't stop looking. It wouldn't let me stop looking. Like, I couldn't turn my head away. I felt like I wasn't blinking, but I was, but I just couldn't stop staring at the TV. And I'm not sure how long this lasted for, but it lasted for a while. And it felt like the inside of everything I was feeling at the time was letting itself out onto a picture screen. And all the frustration and anger that I had was being posted on this screen. Things that I thought about was all there. Anyways, short time later, my wife walks into the front door, and my living room is right there. And as soon as she walked in, the TV turned itself off and the pressure alleviated from me. And she looked at me, and I was as pale as a ghost. I was gray, actually, more so. She was like, "What the heck is wrong with you?" She thought I was sick or something. And I was like, I was beside myself. I had no idea what just happened there. So I stood up as quick as I could, out of kind of fear. And I had the worst case of indigo that you can possibly have. Or not indigo, sorry. What do you call it? Where you're dizzy. I can't remember the name of it right now. I can't even see that name. Anyways, just dizzy as hell. Vertigo. Sorry, that's the word. Vertigo is the word I'm looking for. And I felt drunk, and I didn't know which way was up or down because I was just overwhelmed with all these emotions and feelings. It was like I was on a merry-go-round and just getting off that, and you're trying to, capture your footing without feeling so dizzy. That's how bad it was. And I ended up holding onto the couch. I remember that because I needed to hold the couch to brace myself. And my wife comes over and runs over to me immediately, laughing, thinking that I got into some liquor or something like that, and I was drinking or something. She's like, "What the heck are you doing?" And until she looked at me and she saw how terrified I think I was, because her face went immediately from the smile to oh, kind of like, what the hell's wrong with you? What's going on? And she thought it was something more serious. Anyways, I said I need to go lie down. So she's holding me up, and we're going to the back. We had a bungalow at the time, and we're heading towards the back room where our main master bedroom was, and we're in the hallway, and I couldn't go anymore, and I leaned up against the wall with my wife holding my shoulders up so I wouldn't fall. And panic kind of kicked in at that point. Immense panic. I was scared. I didn't know what was going on, and I kept on calling to my wife, telling her to wake me up. I thought I was dreaming this. I said, "Wake me up. I don't like this dream at all. Wake me up, wake me up." She's like, "What's wrong? What's wrong? What's going on with you?" And I was like, I have no idea. I don't feel right. I feel wrong. This doesn't feel real. And as soon as I got to the certain level of being scared, all of a sudden I felt like I popped out of my body, like I was no longer in my body. And I'm standing and I'm looking at myself in amazement that I can see myself and my wife, but they weren't looking at me. I was a third party looking at my body and my wife holding me up. And as I was speaking, the words that I was saying, I could see coming out of my mouth, and my wife looking at me. She's looking at my body, I should say, and I'm on the side, and that's when I told her, and I yelled at her, "Wake me up now. I don't like this. Wake me up." She goes, "You aren't sleeping." And as soon as she said those three words, I felt like this immense amount of energy pushed me, and I went straight up, almost like it was like a roller coaster, up and down, like that feeling that you get in your gut, straight up into darkness, the nothingness. And I don't know how long I was into this nothingness. I can't say darkness because it wasn't dark. It wasn't scary at all. Didn't scare me. I felt peaceful. I felt a love, like a relaxed peace. And this is what we didn't cover last time. I felt like this was a waiting room, a dark but not a scary waiting room. You kind of floating in the ether of whatever it was you were doing, but it was kind of like a medicine room where it was peeling off all the emotions that I had prior. It was getting rid of and healing slowly the anxieties, my stress, my anger. It was peeling them away because it was just sitting in peace with yourself, or sitting in peace with whatever it was I was in at the time. And that's why I called it the waiting room. It's kind of like going to a doctor where you finally feel you're at, okay, I'm here, I made it. And I don't know how long I was there for. There's no time. There was nothing but time. But there was no time. There was no presence of how long you're there or how long you're not there. It doesn't matter to you. You're not focusing on that. And finally, after a elapsed amount of time did pass, I felt this energy of negativity and whatever just fade away, just slowly going away. All the weight, I should call it the weight. Maybe that'd be a better word. All this weight. And I saw this, there is a light that was always there, but I never felt that I needed to go to it just yet. Not until I felt all of this shedding off of me, all of this worldly feelings shedding off of me. And as soon as I looked at the light, and as soon as I reached out and wanted to go towards it, I had this immense being that overfilled me with this compassion, with this love, with this acceptance, and with this familiarity, I guess is the word. I was familiar with this presence, familiar with this energy. Hold me from the back. And the hand was massive. The body, it was massive. And it was holding me with one hand, kind of cradling my whole body and moving forward with me. And he was behind, somewhere here, but he was moving me forward into the light. And we got into the light, which opened up into this room of pure. Oh goodness, this is emotional. It just felt like home, but it was pure love. Like, I can't express to you what love feels like. I can't, you know what I mean? It's something you can't express, but it was a way of life. It was what we are. And I was in this room, and it looked almost like a cathedral type of room that had people were everywhere, people that I recognized immediately, and not from the world here, but recognized them. I knew who everyone was. And I was moving forward, and the welcoming that I had was amazing, absolutely amazing. It was like something that out of like a welcoming home graduation kind of thing, right? It was they're so proud and so happy and to see me, and I was happy to be there. And there was about 10 figures in front of me that were standing a little bit higher, and there was this box, like a podium, that they were standing that was between me and them. And I had what I would call God, or call my greater power, higher power, what I would call an angel, holding me and pushing me towards in the middle of this, but not in the middle, but where the box was literally about waist high. And there was 10 individuals standing there, welcoming me as well, and having a life review with me at that point of what it was that I experienced and what it was that I went through. And images were popping up, almost like it looked like several different quick snaps, quick picks, just snapping up, and you can see it, and it felt like you could pick them, you can grab them, and hold on to that memory of my life and everything that's happened in my life. I could pick whichever one I wanted. And what was really, really interesting and really, really cool about it was when you picked a memory, it had nothing to do with me. It had the experience to do with me, but it had everything to do with how I made somebody else feel. I could feel what they felt after my interaction with them. I could feel their perspective of why they acted the way they did. And this was all revolved around my interactions with them. I could feel everything that happened. I could feel why they would choose to believe certain things, and I could feel myself in the disconnect of what the true meaning was. I could feel it. I could feel why I thought one way, and I understood why they felt another, because I could see it. It was almost like I was both parties at once, but I could see it and I could feel it, the whole thing. And mind you, this whole time, the communication doesn't come from your mouth at all. Like, you're not speaking, you're not breathing. You don't need to breathe. There's nothing to breathe in. And the speaking is almost as it goes straight into your heart, the conversation. It's like before you even finish what you're asking, you automatically know the answer to whatever you're asking, or you're giving that automatic answer to somebody else just through pure feeling and understanding of that. So I was doing my life review with these individuals, and every individual, this is really strange. Every individual that was there placed something in my life that I requested and I asked for. And every individual that was there was making up a scenario to me saying, did you meet what you wanted to experience through me and through me and through me? So for instance, they were masters of certain parts of the experience of life. And if you asked for wealth, or if you asked for pain and suffering, to experience what pain and suffering was, each one of these individuals were masters of both, of all of that. And so they went one by one into my life review as to what it is we did. And they weren't judging. It wasn't about judging. It was me that was judging myself, and whether or not this life is what I wanted to experience. Is did I experience it to the full capacity that I could possibly experience it? And was there something I could change? Was there something that needed to be changed? Because I failed to meet what the expectation was that I wanted to experience as a spirit here on this planet, here on this earth. And one by one, we would go through my life review, and you'd see they were all having separate conversations with me, not all at once, just random. And it was, like I said, it wasn't judgment. It was more like I was the one that was in control. It was me. I'm the controller. And I wanted to experience this. And they would show me how I failed in my own experience to meet what I wanted to experience, or if I passed. But it wasn't a thing of regret, nor was it anything about having to do it all over again, or what. And there really wasn't anything there that said you had to do something. Do you know what I mean? Do you understand what I mean by that? Like there was no formal, you need to get to achieve this to understand it. There was none. I turned around and I looked once the review was done, looked at the massive hand that was cradling me in this room, whose light shined brighter than the rest. And this was what the most amazing part was, because I was fearless, but I was also at home. And the connection that I had is, I looked to my left and I looked up, and there I experienced God. There I experienced our Creator, our Father, what I would call Father. When I looked, there was no distinguishing features. It wasn't like chiseled chin and, this, nothing like, no, it was more opaque. We were all opaque. Like you could see through, but we weren't humans with digits unless we wanted to be. Majority of it was just light. Everything was light. So trying to picture an opaque person with light, that's what we are. We're just light. We're all light. There's no skin or material stuff like that in that sense. But there was at the same time, which is really weird. You can create whatever scenario you needed to for your own good. Now, whether or not I went into my life review might not be the same as somebody going into their life review, because I was creating my own life review of how I wanted it to look rather than what is necessarily what it is. I feel like I'm lagging here. Are we lagging? So it's like I said, I'll get back to where I was going. As I was being cradled by this big hand, I looked to my left and I looked upwards, and there was God, like I said, looking at me, looking down at me. And I'll never forget this because I didn't see anything distinguishable about the features. I just knew the presence, and I knew I knew who God was, Father. And the eyes were that of an ocean moving. It was blue, moving like the waters, ocean. And the pupils were the stars. You could see the universe within his eyes. It was stars when you looked down. But it was the most beautiful, loving look you could possibly have. It wasn't scary. It wasn't anything like that. It was based solely upon we are within the body of God all the time. There's no difference from us than being a cell in our own bodies. Everything around us is inside. There's no outside. It's all inside. And space, the whole space-time is inside. The same thing as this is my understanding, as a cell in your body, this is how small that cell might be, thinks that it's the master of its own domain, yet it is inside your body, which it doesn't yet realize that it's there until it's outside of it, or not outside, but made aware of it. And everything that we see is that of God. There's nothing that was never created from God. Now, again, it isn't religious for me. It was never religious for me. This was all spiritual. Then we went into some deeper parts of the celebration of me being home. Once I felt completely and open and understood what it was that I was dealing with, an amazing part happened was when I told you earlier that you had a whole bunch of people around me. For you guys to understand the amount of joy people have once you go home from this world, because this world is one of the hardest worlds to experience God without having God here. This is one of the world's, one of the most brutal and harshest experience that delivers the most astounding experience that we chose to come and experience. This world is not for the faint-hearted. This would be, as far as I know, this would be hard mode. If you wanted to speak in terms of gaming or whatever, you have it on. This is super hard mode, where you feel isolated and alone, and you feel that that God is not with you, and it's all about the remembering of oneself, remembering who you are. This world is all about. There's no cheat code here. Nothing. This is what grants you the most experience in life. Do you have any questions so far? Nothing? Okay.
No, I want to ask afterwards, unless people in the chat have any questions. Feel free to do it, and I'll try to pull them up. But I'm writing down bits and pieces to ask questions later, though.
Sure. So to get back to what I was saying there about this party, It was nonstop. It was just gratification, completely gratification from everybody else. Just it was when you guys passed from this life. I'm telling you, people, like even the angels are amazed because of how hard this one is. This one is not easy, living in a life in a body and still trying to remember who you are. And it's not hard to remember who you are once you do, but you can lose it again if you let your mind be from the world, not of the world. And one of the biggest moments that I had was, and the realizations was, be of the world, not for the world. Or sorry, from the world, but not of the world. It's hard for all of us to, and we agree to do this, but it's hard for all of us to distinguish between what's real, what is not real, and what is there and what isn't there, what is your truth versus the truth of others. And what I was led to believe is that every single thing that we've experienced in our life, we asked for. Every single thing. And that's going to be a hard pill for a lot of people to swallow. But we asked to experience it. The reason being why we asked to experience this, and this is while I was speaking with God, is because we ourselves will be godlike one eventually. We ourselves are the sons and daughters of God. And this is a learning experience, not a learning, but an experience of what life is. There is nothing to know up when you're at home. There's nothing to know. The difference is that you can know everything, but when you experience it, it's a different story. It's kind of like going to school and becoming a plumber. It looks great on paper until you experience it, and there's nobody there to guide you. Then it gets real, and that's when it gets different. And that's the same with learning to love, learning all these experiences, because there's nothing else but love and heaven and or whatever, home, whatever you want to call it. But here there's a multitude of things, which fear is all the stem of fear, which is the nemesis of love. But even in that fear, the baseline of fear is love, which is kind of a contradiction, but it actually is. It's called the holy dichotomy, which is fear. It is still a form of love, and believe it or not, it is. So, anyways, that being said, having the conversations and looking at where I was, we dived into a really deeper moment of clarity of what it is I was trying to do, I wanted to do. And you're always given a chance to try it again, but I'll get into that a little bit later because that comes up later. But after leaving, nothing happens without you wanting it to happen. So as soon as you think of something, you're there. As soon as you ask to see it, you're already there. It doesn't make a difference. We don't stop creating at all, even in your spiritual form, because that's what we are. That's our soul. That's our baseline of what a spirit is a creator. All of us. We never stop. And yes, when you're at home, it's a vibrational, more so than anything else, with colors that I can't even tell you what the colors were. They were so bright. The blades of grass, when you're walking in grass, would move for your feet. You weren't hurting anything. You felt this ebb and flow. The water, and there's water there. Everything is the same. The only difference is you're connected to everything. Not in the sense of like watching that movie there with the blue guys, but you realize that everything is vibrational. Everything is in harmony with one another. Are you an individual? Yes, but you also are one as well. So you could be both at the same time. A lot of people call it God experiencing himself. But it isn't just God experiencing himself, because you too will become that of what your Father is, and that is a God of your own realm. And that's the whole purpose of why we are here. It's not a lesson, it's an experience. You can't fail this experience. It's virtually impossible. We are willing, and we are going to be, and this is what I was told, is that we are meant to experience every facet of life just for us to understand just an inch or a small little bit of what God is. You have to understand, like, this life holds much different experiences than that of another life. And you can choose to come back to this realm, to this world. You can choose all of that, absolutely. If you feel like you have unfinished business, or if you want to come back. Hence why we have what we call old souls. A lot of people think the old soul is the old soul of home, but no, an old soul is somebody that's been on this realm, this earth, in my opinion. Again, all this is my opinion, what I was told. Old souls are ones that have done this time and time again, which you'll notice are more relaxed when things hit the fan. They're not so stressed about things. They're not so, anxious. And they usually have words of wisdom during the most stressful of times, because they don't know why, but their presence alone is that of a calming nature. That's your old soul. The young souls are the first ones here. This is the first time they've been on this merry-go-round, and they're all full of piss and vinegar, and they're losing their shit. Excuse my language. So that's where the old souls come from, and that's what the terminology and my experience again has taught me. Now, well, there's so many places I could go right now with you. I'm not sure where you want me to go here, because I was there for a while, so I'm not sure what more I can express. A lot of things, like what I saw, the birth of the universe. You can see the birth, and you can see it rebirthing all the time. Stars, believe it or not, or black holes and galaxies give birth to new stars. I don't know if you ever heard of this, but I was beside myself when you see how it happens. A lot of people think it's some sort of nuclear fusion. No, it's the same thing as that of a womb in a mother. It's the spark of light that creates the child immediately, and that spark of light gives life. And that same womb, space has the same womb that gives spark of light to new stars, which has their own everything around them as well. That has their own galaxies, has the whole nine of what this birth is. It's so hard to explain, but everything starts with the spark of light, with the light of life. That's how anything works. And again, I'm not a scientist, nor am I any sort of researcher or none of that. I'm just expressing what I saw and what I was shown. There are multitudes of this planet, of this earth. There are different scenarios. And this is the most, really, one of the most interesting things is your deja vu is telling you that you're experiencing what you asked for. It's to keep you on track, to remind you that you're still on the same course you chose. Everything that's in placement of your life, you put there, even down to the individuals that you meet, no matter how brief of a time, you placed them there for yourself. And your reaction to those individuals are based solely on you. So deja vus are 100% reaffirmation of you're still in control of your life, that nothing happens without you knowing about it, without you allowing it to happen. Now, the other interesting part is you have different aspects of yourself in your life. Every major decision you make, a part of you said yes, the other one said no. So life's not linear. Life doesn't just go this way. You are like a tree with branches all around you. And this tree, the tree of life, this is why they call it the tree of life, because it doesn't just stay one direction. It branches out into all these different scenarios, and you choose, because you've lived all of these different scenarios. You can live it. Your spirit will bounce from one to the next, to the next, to the next, experiencing it, whatever you want to experience the most, whatever your spirit chooses for you to experience at the time. You will choose it. Hence, when a lot of people out there say, I can't believe I've had this bad feeling when before walking into this room. Well, you already walked into the room before. You know what's going to happen. Again, your deja vu kicking in because you've already experienced it and you placed that there yourself. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I want to make a comment, and then I want to ask a question that somebody in chat asked real quick while we're in this realm, if you will.
Sure.
First of all, a lot of people near-death experiencers, when they before they have their near-death experience, they talk about this overwhelming dread. They feel this dread from nowhere, like they think something bad's gonna happen. And I heard somebody describe it and why they think they had this dread, and they mentioned that it was because they already planned that thing to happen. And so it was their soul, their gut feeling, their energy, basically being scared of this. And then once they let go of that, being scared of whatever was going to transpire, the near death experience proceeded. But their soul, higher self, whatever, their energy knew this bad thing was going to happen because it was predetermined.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just one of those scary, unknown things of, I guess, what was going to happen. And it makes sense to me. And kind of what you were saying too, I feel like it kind of coexists with deja vu and pre-planning going into that room already. It was already there. You just don't know.
Right. It's the veil.
So this question says, what about individuals who are evil? What happens to them?
There's no such thing as evil. And that's probably one thing you probably don't want to hear because we've been conditioned to believe that there's good and evil, but that takes away the experience of what you chose. You don't know whether you're good unless you experience bad. And again, it's called the holy dichotomy is without good, you would have no evil. And without evil, you would have no good. What a really good thing that I like to say is we are all experiencing what we are not to truly understand what we really are. And you have to experience what you are not to appreciate what you really are. And there is nothing but polar opposites within our realms, up and down, left and right, here and there. We have opposites for literally everything, light and dark. Like I said, we are all inside the same body of God. That's never going to change. As much as we would like to hope that some people, I know there's some people that we would hope that aren't in heaven, they are. Your greatest enemy here is your best friend there. Because he said, or they said, that they will grant you your wish to help you experience what it would be like. And as much as we hate thinking about what it is that people do to each other, and it brings tears to the eyes of men, it can bring a strong man to his knees. It's the experience you got to remember is that's what we're after. Now, it doesn't mean that there isn't going to be consequences on this planet. Doesn't mean that. It means there are going to be consequences at the end of the day, but you would believe in a lesser God if they created something.
Pause for intermission.
Sorry about that. It was a phone call there. Yeah, it's hard for people to swallow that pill, but
Consequences.
yeah, it's not the consequence part, but the fact that all of us go back home. Every single one of us. We all go back home. Now, again, you got to remember, you create your own reality. You never stop creating. So if you are here and you're creating these atrocities and you believe you're going to go to hell, you will experience hell. You will experience hell either on earth or you'll experience hell in the afterlife because you're asking to experience this. You're believing in this experience so much that you will create it for yourself. Eventually, God's will prevail and you will go back home. There's no such thing as hell, eternal hell. There is no such thing. That's something man-made. There's no such thing. But there are ramifications here on earth and repercussions that you have to deal with here on earth with other individuals like myself and the host and whoever with our interaction. And everything is a learning experience. Everything. There's nothing out there that is not. There just isn't. And everything out there in one form or another is a blessing. And that again is another hard pill to swallow. So if you were an alcoholic, for instance, and again, this is everything that I'm putting into context for you. If you were an alcoholic and you were down on your luck and you're living the worst life and you finally reached rock bottom, and in the rock bottom there is where you found yourself and you found God, would that take that curse and make that into a blessing then? The curse of alcoholism? Would that turn that into a blessing? And the answer is yes, it would. Because without it, without experiencing what you are not, you found what you really are. And you start helping others, or if you started helping others and helping them get out of that rut of alcoholism or out of drug addiction and so on and so forth, it turns into a blessing. So I know we can go a lot deeper with some of the atrocities that are happening right now with individuals. But again, you got to remember is that if we didn't experience it firsthand, we wouldn't understand what we are by experiencing what we are not. And that is definitely what we are not. That is it's the pits of what I would call the pits of godlessness. That's what God is not.
So to expand on that, I think it's a human concept that people need punishment, right? They need repercussions, right? I think that's a human element, a human mindset. But when we talk about everybody goes home, this gets under a lot of people's skins. But much like yourself, you got a life review, right? Through your interactions. And so if you felt everything that you did to everybody else, well, could that not be hell itself, right? If Hitler did all those things to those people and he saw all of those interactions and all the the ripple of that effect, we're still suffering from that generations. Still to this day we're still feeling repercussions from that. And so if you're to like feel all of that energy, that itself can be hell.
Well, during your life review, like I said, you do feel everything that they've gone through and you understand why they did it. But that also works on the opposite end. If you were that victim of that individual, you would understand why they did it. Might not make sense to us now, but you would understand why they did it. And like I said, fear is a heck of a thing because fear is still based out of love. It's the soul does everything out of what it loves, whether it's protecting the family, whether it doesn't matter, whether it's self-indulgence, it's self-love. It's such a hard pill, and I know it's controversial, and I'm still going to stand on this, is that regardless of what we think we've been told, You can't do no wrong. You can't. There is no such thing as right and wrong. There isn't. Without the wrong, there's no right. And without the right, there would be no wrong. This world is about learning experience, like not learning, that's a terrible word I got to get rid of. It's about the experience. It's about the ride. It's not about the destination where you end up. It's all about the ride and how you make others feel, and how when you're living this life that you're living, you can, if you want to live a good life, life will be easy for you. That's the thing, is that life is not meant to be hard. We're the ones that make it hard. And when you say, why hasn't God intervened with these children? Well, because he's taking away our experience. Why hasn't God intervened with these wars? Because he's not going to interfere with our experience. He's given us a universal law that he created himself, and that is, you're free to do what it is you want to do. I can't force you to love me. I can't force you to follow in my footsteps and make your life easy. You will decide that for yourself, but eventually all things will come back to God. All things. There's not one thing that does not come back to God and his will. You can experience hell for what you might think would be eternity, but it isn't. Eternity knows no end, and we'll all be called back eventually. If you believe this, if you believe in your heart that you're going to be in hell, then you're going to experience hell. If you believe in all your heart that there's hell on earth, you're going to have hell on earth here. And it's all in your mind and your experience. Life will be hard. Life will be hell. You'll find no love. You'll find no peace within yourself because you're choosing that. You're choosing to believe in that. Like I said, life is not linear. It's not one road. You have different experiences that you can base your life off of, that you've already experienced. And you can make a change on any of these roads, fork of the roads. You can change your life with a decision right now you wanted to make, which is absolutely amazing. That's what us as creators can do. That's what we're meant to do. Eventually, your soul gets tired of doing the same thing over and over again. It gets tired. It wants to experience something new. But you will go through hell if that's what you so choose to go through. Or you'll go through bliss.
So I want to expand on, because you said something powerful, is in which I agree on, and once again, this is gonna be hard for people. I get it. I sometimes hate saying it because it puts an image on me, I feel like. But um that's speaking from fear. Uh the the example of your worst enemy here is your best friend there.
Yeah.
I really love Betty Guadando's um, experience, because she got shown her pre-birth memories and why she went through the things that she went through. And you talked about it earlier, is basically the duality. First of all, there's many things that she went through, that you went through, that many other people have went through. It's hard for us to accept, but this is what keeps showing up. And in her experience, she got shown this pre-birth memory in a form of like shopping, and each cereal box that she chose off the shelf had a front and a back, whether it's homelessness and abundance, or addiction or recovery, or atheism and spiritualism, or abuse and love, or every bad thing that she chose was, there's an opposite, a positive to that, and a lesson or an experience from it. And like you said, your worst enemy is your best friend there. When she picked the cereal box of, abuse and trauma, a little soul popped out of that cereal box, and she knew this soul as, from the beginning, that they loved each other so much that they have chose to play these roles for each other in this lifetime for this soul growth and experience.
Exactly.
As as much as she felt like she didn't like this person here, there she remembered that they were so in love. They loved each other so much that they played these roles in each other's lives. And it's just a really good example of that not everything is as it seems. And there is something that we don't remember. There's something before and after that we don't remember. And through all of these experiences like yours and hers and other people's, we start to see this pattern form that, maybe what if, and let me ask you what you think on this. Do you think it's possible that we aren't necessarily meant to come here and do those bad things, but maybe even choose not to go against our gut to do those things? Do you get what I'm asking?
Yeah. So there's a difference between the gut feeling, which is, that goes back to again when you were talked about souls know when they're about to move forward and go home, right? And they have this sense of dread. I never experienced that because it happened too quick for me. I didn't have a sense of dread, but I imagine that it could happen. Some people have a really hard time transitioning from the earthly realm into the spiritual realm. It could be scary for some people. So they might have that dread. The same thing happens with your gut instinct and your gut feeling. You know something's going to happen, but you're not scared of it. You might be scared of it in the physical realm, but not in the spiritual realm. And your soul is the controller. You are your controller. Here's a really interesting take. Why is it that every single time you think of something and you're doing an action, there's also that third thought, the master thought that's observing what you're doing? And that's you observing yourself. Most people don't think about this in depth, but that's what we all do. Every single one of us, when we make a decision and we play out this decision, and it happens thousands of times a day, but sometimes it's significant, sometimes it isn't. But the significant parts is you're always observing yourself from a third person. You just don't realize it. You think it's just a thought. But it's not, it's the thought behind the thought. And that's your driving force, and that's your spirit. And you just had that moment, didn't you, where you're like, holy shit, maybe that is true, that I'm observing myself doing something. Right? Like everybody observes themselves doing something. We always do it. We're just so used to it, we don't recognize that it's there. And if you put some thought into that, you would see that there's another thought behind that original thought. Observing, always observing, always feeling for you, always seeing what works and what doesn't, and always giving you a direction into which direction you're going to go. It's not a matter of if you're going in that direction, you're going in that direction because your soul is the author of your life. Period. There's no deviating from this as much as we want to, because your life is not linear, but your soul is there's time doesn't matter to your soul. Nothing matters to your soul like that. It's all about the experience that you're having here. And the experiences that you have here, we are all born with gifts that we chose to have. The gift of good looking, believe it or not, is a gift. The gift of artistry, the gift of song. We all choose gifts that we can pick from, that we want to experience here on earth and on every other plane that's out there. We chose certain gifts. So when people see somebody that has a handicap of one way or another, that handicap was picked by them. So who are you to judge that handicap, feeling sorry for that individual, like whether you're blind or deaf, mute, born that way? They chose this. And I think the biggest travesty is that we believe that we need to sit there and feel sorry for somebody that wants to experience life without seeing it, or life without hearing it, or life without speaking about it. See no evil, hear no evil, and speak no evil. These are things we can do. This is things that people want to experience. It's hard for us to fathom that idea because we're like, well, wait a minute. I mean, we want you to experience what we're experiencing. But that's not what the soul desires, because again,
all facets of life that you have to experience is much larger than our brain can possibly compute, can possibly think about. All facets of life means the good, the bad, and the ugly. Everything in between. We want to experience for us to fully understand what it is that we are as an individual and as a one unit. Will we go out and create things? 100%. Is life over after this life? No. Life has just begun. We're just exploring, because we are that type of people, like I said, that are that type of spirit that wanted to go hard mode first. But there is no time lapse. So we chose this moment in this exact time to experience what it is we're experiencing today. There is no other way to be. Everything is happening now. There is no such thing as history or future. Everything's happening now. In the scheme of things, which is very hard for a lot of people to conceive, but eternity, there is no conceivement of eternity. You don't know how long eternity is because it doesn't end. So everything happens now. There is no future or past. It's just now, being present, being in today. To get back to the experience that I had, unless there's another question out there, or unless there's, without an argument, because I know a lot of TikTokers like to argue.
No, there's a comment though, which kind of covers that last question that we started with, and the comment comes from that same person who asked the question, but it says, "I believe evil people do bad because of love, but a selfish, self-serving kind of love." So you mentioned that everything's a form of love.
Yes,
and even evil acts.
correct. So from moving back again to the experience I was having in my I like to call it a near God experience, not a near death, because death doesn't actually exist. It's just a transformation of the soul moving from the body, back to its purgatory, which would shed the feelings of said life and shed all of how amazingly overwhelming it is to be in this life, back to its natural state of being, which is love, and that's it. There's nothing else. But that being said, even in the heavenly world, what we call home, we have tears there as well. You have the eternal light, which your soul can always return back to if you wanted it to go back to God. If you wanted to rejoin God again and kind of take a breather, or just be a part of the all, you can return back to God, which is, like I said, the eternal light. And your soul will sit there, and you can be there for as long as you want. Nothing happens unless you give the go ahead as a soul. The one thing that I thought was really interesting is when God brought up the lack of identity. A lot of people apparently have a hard time believing we are all one scenario, because they lose their personal identity. Where it's like, well, wait a minute, I don't want to be just one individual by itself, experiencing itself over and over again. I don't want that, because I feel like I'd be insignificant. And what's the point of me being here in this world and experiencing what it is that we're doing? Because God can easily do that with how many people he has or whatever. He doesn't, why would he need me? And I want to feel like I matter. Well, in that sense, every soul does matter, because we are a part of that same puzzle of a billion and a trillion pieces that all need to fit together. We have our own individualism as well as our one presence. And that one presence is the spark of life that we all come from, each and every one of us. You can choose to be with God and in the graces of God and in the eternal light, or you can choose to come and do this again. Maybe not on this planet, maybe on another planet, but there is nothing in this world nor any other worlds that you can think of that it doesn't exist. There's nothing that doesn't already exist, which is kind of really interesting if you think about it, is that we have a bunch of different experiences that we can experience on different planets, on different realms, different instances. Are unicorns real? 100%. Are dragons real? Absolutely. Are fairies real? Yes. Maybe not on this realm. But what we have is trickles of remembrance that comes to the mind of what we experienced in the past that will come to this, where we can write folklore about, or we can write novels and adventures about, expressing what we experienced in a past life, expressing what we've done and seen in another dimension. It's very true, because God knows no bounds. There is nothing that hasn't, under the sun, that hasn't already been experienced, or that has not been thought of or seen. And that to me was just amazing when I'm listening to all this, because we still have yet to experience any kind of form of life just on this planet that would dictate saying I'm done with life, because no, you're just starting. We're all just starting off in life. We have an eternity of doing all of this. Not every single one of us is going to experience Earth twice, this Earth, but we'll experience it in a different light. You'll experience it through a different lens. Absolutely. Will life be hard for you on the next life? Probably not. Could be harder. All depends on what you choose. So next time you see people that you're like, man, I wish I had their life. Well, you could, if you so chose to. And even on this life, you could choose to have another life, if your soul so chooses to, if you decide to. Do you know the difference between a knowingness and a belief? The knowingness doesn't give a chance for anything to interrupt it. It doesn't bow down to any sort of possibility of, I could be wrong. No, knowingness doesn't do that. Belief does. Once you have a near God experience, I no longer believe in God. I know there's a God. There's no way around that. I know there's a God. The fields of glory, the fields of love are filled. Our home is filled. It looks exactly like what we have here. Maybe some subtle differences, but there is no need for homes and houses and castles. Whatever we want to create is instantaneously there. You could have a castle if you want to. You could have all your friends every night at your house if you want to. It doesn't matter. The things that we choose as human beings are far beneath what we choose as an individual of the soul. Do you know what I mean? Like these things aren't in play because the soul can literally do anything and everything it so chooses to do. It's the restrictions that give us the basic, the biggest experience for ourselves, not the knowing.
Well, soul doesn't need a building. We need buildings for protection, right? And
Right.
privacy. And you, as a soul, you don't need those things. So these are
No.
human concepts. So to think that we need our house being built in heaven
No.
isn't really a necessity.
You don't, I'll tell you, you don't need 79 virgins either. I'm just going to throw that out there. You don't. But again, I don't want to upset somebody. But moving forward after the experience that I was there, I was given a choice whether I was ready to come back or not. Now I can go more into the experience if you have questions, or I can leave it at that and reel it in and bring back, go to the point of where I was returning back, if you want me to do that. Okay.
Yeah, let's go back to the body and then we'll ask some questions.
Okay. So after being shown everything, I felt like I was there for, I couldn't even tell you. Honestly, I couldn't even tell you how long I was there for. Like time had no matter. It didn't matter. And after having conversations and it felt like everything was about me and everything was about us as an individual and as a one unit. But they were so intrigued to listen to what my stories were of being here and what I experienced, because a lot of souls don't want to experience this right away, not because they can't, but because this is, like I said, hard mode. And it's just one of those things. God asked me, are you ready to go back? And I didn't want to come back. I said I wasn't ready, I didn't want to, but my soul knew it had to. And as soon as I said, yes, I'm ready to come back, all the shedding of the waiting room that I told you about earlier came back into me, of the human side. I had the emotions and the feelings and all that almost immediately came back, and I realized three things. One, I wasn't breathing. Two, I was never speaking. And this is the human side, which is really weird. This is where you have the connection between physical and spiritual realm, is your brain starts going into the connection mode again, where you're feeling things that will scare you. And I was scared to come back here. And I felt that scaredness, and even with God there saying everything's okay, I still felt this. It was kind of like, I know I'll be fine, but it's just going through and feeling the heaviness again of what human life really is, because spirits again are very light. There's no heaviness of the body. There's nothing like that. You're not restricted. You don't feel like you're encased. That was a fear. That was the only fear I ever felt when I was coming back. Now, as soon as I said yes and I felt all this, he said, no, you were loved 3 times. And boom, I started flying right back in towards what I would say are these 2 orbs that were floating. I saw these 2 orbs, and all of a sudden it was like kind of like a Star Trek tunnel thing, where you saw that you were going fast because you can't do the blink of an eye anymore, because you're not full spirit now. You're coming back into your body. I was seeing these 2 orbs, and as the orbs got closer and closer and closer, I felt myself becoming more and more human. More and more of these feelings and emotions were carrying and picking up. And when I got into, as soon as the orbs became what they were, they ended up being my eyes. And my spirit went back into my eyes, back into my body. And I was standing there against the wall. My wife was holding me by my shoulders. And she was finishing the sentence, "You are not a..." So time has no meaning. My wife didn't realize I was even gone until I was telling her I was. And time had not lapsed in the time that I was, from what I experienced versus me coming back into my...
Seamless.
Yep.
Now we've talking for an hour and 15 minutes, but I'm sure you and your wife in this whole scenario happened, like you said, there was no time. It was just, it's as if you downloaded this memory that came out of nowhere.
I wouldn't say it
Or
was
downloaded
downloaded.
this
No.
experience.
No, it wasn't downloaded. It was experienced. There was
Right.
nothing about it. Like there is no download. There's nothing like that. It's time has no measurement at home. There's no such thing as time. There's no such thing as, I'll meet you at 3:00. It's, I'll meet you, you're there. There's no such thing as anything that we've made that's man-made, time, history, or past time, future time. No, it's all happening now. There's nothing that tells you different. Now, people that are pronounced dead for 10, 15 minutes, that come back, yeah, that can happen too. 100%, it can happen. Absolutely. But the spirit doesn't take time to do anything. It doesn't recognize time in the spirit world.
So when I was ask this a different way, did you see any family members, past loved ones?
Yep. Everybody's there. You have, I saw members that weren't even in this realm I didn't experience. We are tribal. We have our family up there as well. There's families cross everywhere. Like, I mean, there wasn't 1 billion people in the room. There wasn't 1 billion souls. But there was a lot of souls there that were my family, that were my heavenly family. Ones that I haven't seen in a long time. There's ones that I reconnected with. We have families. We are still that same, what we have down here is still a reflection of what's up there. It's still the reflection. Hard thing that a lot of people don't realize is God has a mom too. God has a father himself. He's not the only one. And a lot of people have a hard time with that. I understand, and I'm okay with that. But God's not the only one. This isn't something that is a solo venture. God invented man and wife in marriage because God has man and wife in marriage as well. You have families, guys. Like, we have families that aren't just here. That's a little hard pill to swallow, isn't it?
Is our pets there?
Are our pets there? In a sense, no, but the spirit is. They don't look like your dog and cat. The spirit is. If you so choose to come back as a dog and cat, I suppose that could be something you can do. But I would say 99.9% of the souls would never come back, because that's kind of going backwards, and it doesn't really serve the soul a purpose at all. But yes, there's souls there.
Do we have a gender?
Yes, we do. We're genderless, but we recognize gender. It's genderless. You can, how do I put this?
We have a preference.
Correct. Yes. You said it right there.
So to rewind, and I guess you kind of covered it, but I found it fascinating because people kind of get a life review. You got two kind of life reviews, sort of, in a way. Initially started with the TV, right, in the living room, where you saw all kinds of struggles of the human. I've heard many people, so, and I don't know if you've ever heard Danny and Brinkley's experience, but he got to show, he was shown these things in the body, kind of like a Teletubby, of a light being, a TV screen and a light
Okay.
being's chest, right? And in these screens, he got shown, or sorry, let me rewind. These images flashed. What he was shown were future events. But he was told, Danny, and this is what life looks like when you don't, basically when you live in fear. Like, this is what happens when you don't produce love. And you are causing this. You are causing the famine, the earth to shake, the storms, the riots. You were causing this by not living in love, and because he was a very hateful person. He put a lot of fear out there. He was a bully and had a really rough, he was a rough person growing up, and he was told, like, he was shown, this is what life is like. This is the world when you don't do things out of love.
Correct.
So what you were describing on the TV is really, really resonated with me based on what he was shown. And he has a movie you can look at or watch on YouTube. It's free. It's from 1995, so give him some grace on the graphics. On the graphics of heaven. So we talked about this before. You've never read Journey of Souls, but what you describe, like, I want to encourage you to read it, but you're gonna read it and be like, I already know this shit. Like, I lived this shit. Like I experienced it. You're gonna be like, duh, I get it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like you might not even find it fascinating. You're like, of course, because it speaks on the same stuff that you speak on. And we talked about this last time. First of all, let me back up. When you come back, who's your wife is the first person you tell?
Yeah.
How did she handle that? How did she accept that?
She didn't know the full extent until the day after. You come back with a new set of eyes. When I came back, I saw things that I was never not used to seeing. I saw like energy was very prevalent around me, and the emotional attachments and the feelings. It's not like it dissipates from you immediately when you come to this world. That what you felt out there at home, when you come to this world, it doesn't dissipate immediately. It takes a long time. And my wife was struggling with me because she saw her husband go from a very hateful, angry man into something that fundamentally changed my life, literally, like within a blink of an eye. I was heavily, I got it, I was stressed, very stressed coming back into the body. I was shaking profusely when I came back, and it wasn't out of fear, it was just trying to get comfortable again. The next morning when I woke up, all I could see was an overwhelming amount of color and like orbs everywhere, weird things that you don't normally see. So if we went for a walk, I felt like I was walking 3 steps in front of my body when I'd go for a walk. I don't know if you understand what that means, but it felt like I was floating, like I wasn't here. I felt like the adjustment to get back to the weight of this body was hard. But this reminds me, I felt like anything I wanted, all I needed to do was think about it, and I would have it at that time. It's like I knew that anything I wanted would be mine to take because of what I am, what we are. All I had to do was know that I could have it. And I didn't care for the material stuff at all. And still to this day, I don't really care about the material parts of anything. Because in the life review, you don't see the first time you bought your house or the first car you've ever driven or anything that's money-wise. The only thing you care about is your experience here on earth of the people you got to interact with and the showtime movie, so to speak, of who you chose to be in that day, what you chose to be for that day. Monetary gains meant nothing. They mean nothing. They didn't look at your bank account. They didn't look at anything like that. Like, that's not what drives your soul. You just don't care. You just don't. So, you also have a sense of understanding what's going to come soon. Like, basing your feelings, like if you thought about it for a little bit, you knew what was going to happen next in your life. You knew exactly which person is going to show up and what time they're going to show up. You had this sense of it. You couldn't quite pinpoint it, but you had a sense of it. And then I'd say over the past 2 to 3 years, it trickled away. So seeing the orbs, sitting down and looking at, like, our auras real? Yeah, 100%, man. That's crazy stuff to talk about, but yeah, you can see them. You can see the spirit outside of the body, encasing the body. It's weird, but you can feel it. You can walk into a room and you can feel the density of the air. You could feel whether it's a good or negative thing. And some people carry that as a gift in this realm. But it's something that you're aware of and you take note of. But yeah, for me, ever since, like, it's been a long time, it's dissipated. I don't have anything special that happens to me. I'm not psychic or any of that nonsense. Like, I'm just not. I'm just your regular average Joe guy with an experience that he tells people now. Like I don't.
So going back to Journey of Souls,
Mhm.
going back to the being, the presence to your back left. Showed you this, well, shit. I want to back up again. I'm gonna go back to who all have you told, like, do you go and tell people this? Is this something you share with people?
No.
You told your wife and that's it?
My kid too.
Let me back up again because this is one of my questions is what is it like raising kids with this experience? It's got to be different than a normal person.
Yes.
Sorry, you're not normal.
Thanks, man.
I like your shirt says original too.
You realize that, like for me, I understand what my child was going through, with the experiences that they were trying to have. Do we still have to be a good parent and direct them? 100%, because souls they're not used to a truck coming and hitting you. Okay, that's not what it's about. I raised my daughter, and she's here right now. You can ask if you wanted to ask her how I raised her. I raised her into believing and knowing that there's something else out there, that all she has to do is ask, and all she needs to do is make up her mind as to where she wants to go in life. As a child, I raised them. I didn't raise them. I never hit my child. I saw nothing of benefit to doing something like that. Now, my other two children prior to it, I gave them spankings. But my third child, the daughter, never gave her a spanking. Never. Because I understood that fear is one of the worst things that child should ever have to go through, especially with the ones that they depend on to take care of them. They should never be fearful of you, ever, but they should have respect and ordinance around you. And that's what it is. A fearless child isn't necessarily a good thing. However, I think a child that respects life in its entirety, other people's life as well, has an automatic respect for those people, and for other individuals, and can easily point out whether something's beneficial to them or not. And I've never told my daughter that she's unable to do something, because that would go against my entire experience. Because whatever you want to do, you can experience if you so choose to do it. Whatever it is.
The way I see it is, I have not had your experience. I've heard your experience. I've heard many experiences in which forms my view on life, right? It's different than it was 3 years ago. Which means I raise my kids differently. And this is why I ask, because my parenting flip-flopped. My teachings flip-flopped.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about accomplishments. It's about our interactions. It's about compassion.
Yes.
And I see that forms my kids' views more now. Is compassion shows more because life has purpose, right? Everybody is in their own life, they're in their own experience, and life has formed them. Everything that has ever happened in their life has formed the person that they currently are, right? And
Right.
and this doesn't have to be spiritual. This is science. Like it's true. Like regardless if you were believe in a religion or you're an atheist or whatever it is everything in your life has formed you to who you are right this second. And to understand that and to know that is being compassionate and understanding, and you can view someone with a little less judgment and a little more compassion. from knowing that. But what I'm getting at is to understand that from a different perspective, that life has purpose, that all of this isn't random, and you teach this to your children. If gives them a sense of compassion for others and allows them to accept things that happen in their life or understand why things may happen in their life. Um,
You got to
do
remember,
you see it? Go ahead.
you need to remember yourself. That's what you need to do. Remember yourself with God, or what you call God, with other individuals, realizing that you are all the same, all one, but experiencing life individually. That's what remember means. And that's it. And as soon as you do that, life becomes much more interesting. And I don't want to take it away of what it is. I'm really doing a big disservice as to what we are. It's so hard to explain, traveling and seeing all the different worlds out there that we can experience, that this isn't it. It's on such a grand scale that I'm excited for the afterlife to go try something new, to try something different. Like you get so excited and you're so happy because you get to do these things and experience it, and you create it yourself, that you're the author. It's just, life is amazing. It is absolutely amazing. And if we choose to live in hell on this earth, then guaranteed you're not going to want to do it again. You know what I mean? Like your soul already experienced what it was like to live in that certain hell. You won't want to do it again. But then hell is subjective to the soul, very subjective. Every soul, feels different about it, about whatever that experience is. If I could get one thing out of my experience for everybody to understand and listen to, is you are again experiencing what you are not to fully understand what you are. That is the biggest takeaway I would love for everybody to take away from this. You'll experience hardships. You'll experience pain, suffering, and sadness, but that isn't who you are. That at all isn't who you are. It just reasserts itself into your soul of the beauty of love and the beauty of what we are really made out of. Yeah, that's.
Do you see a difference between your kids of how you raised them?
Yes. Yes, I do. I see my sons. Yeah, my sons are a lot more hesitant to trust individuals. My sons blame a lot of stuff on personal and environmental, rather than seeing it for what it is and trying to look for the blessing in everything. And for you know what I mean? They will harbor a lot of anger, and they take it after me. And for that, that was on me for the way I raised. But it's hard for me as a father to say that, we all experience this, and I gave you what you wanted to experience, and for my daughter to say something different, it's just hard, because I'm still a human being after all at this point. But yes, I do see a significant difference. Yeah.
Did Mark's friends, family, coworkers notice a big change in him?
Yes. Oh my God, yes. Yes. So I own a bit. I changed my practices into a group practice, which again, I don't want to sound like some sort of, Fruit Loop, but I share. I share. I don't care about monetary gains at all, as long as it feeds my family and feeds, gets a shelter over my head and a bed to sleep in. I don't care about it. I don't want to save money. I'm not here to save money. And don't trust me, I'm not going to be your financial advisor. Don't use me as a financial advisor, because I will spend money on people so that they can have experiences too. I would rather take my family out and go for a month vacation than to try to buy that new car. Do you know what I mean? I don't care about that kind of stuff. I started realizing that the motivational speeches only go so far when it comes to pertaining money, because it's all shallow. It's shallow. It doesn't give you the experience of life. And then having a huge bank account doesn't give you any experience. It'll help you get experiences if you choose to use it wisely. But what's really interesting is that the ebb and flow of life is, you give your money away, you'll receive it back again. You always will. There is no need to want, no need to feel that you have that you have less than. Because at any point in time that you so choose, you can have whatever it is you want to have, that your spirit wants to experience. And whether that's monetary gains or feeling wealthy, wealth comes in many, many different forms, right? So God doesn't, in my experience anyways, God doesn't recognize money as wealth. Or neither does your soul. Wealth is the abundance of love, abundance of people, abundance of experience, an abundance of everything good in your life. That's wealth. Money might play an intricate role in certain aspects of that, but at the end of the day, I've seen more millionaires in the groups that I hang out with and the clubs that I used to go to that were sad than going to a homeless shelter and helping out and seeing the people that are just grateful for what they have. And gratitude is the cure of all. It's the cure of depression. The cure of anxiety is gratitude. Even in the smallest of things, if you have gratitude in what you have and focus on what you have rather than what you do not have, that will cure your depression, believe it or not, and your anxiety, believe it or not. Being grateful for everything you have in life and the experiences you're having, and stop looking at others, comparing yourself to them, because their experience is not. And trust me, a lot of times the mirror works both ways. Sometimes these people that you think you want to have a piece of them, they're looking at you saying, I wish I was that. I wish I was the father with 4 kids and a loving wife, instead of the guy that's by himself with millions of dollars and sports cars and has nothing else. Like, cars don't speak to you. They don't.
You kind of, I don't want to say sidetrack, but you went somewhere. But I wanted to, I be grateful, right?
Mhm.
There's often times before a live when I go get some dinner or something, I talk to God, I talk to the universe or whatever, I pray, I manifest, and I ask, you know, some along the lines of, please let this live be one of the biggest lives I've ever had. I ask for, what does that mean? Does that mean, in my ego mindset, it means big numbers, big gifts, lots of donations, lots of followers. But I know deep down inside of me, it means impact. So whether there's 500 people in my life or there's 5, the true meaning of a successful life is the impact that we create in someone's life, which can ripple throughout society. Which at the end of my prayer, I'm like, God damn it. I'm like, I know what I mean, but I know what I'm gonna get, and I'm gonna look back at it later and be like, this was one of the, I had 30 people in my life, and this was the biggest, lives that I had done, because it made this one impact on 1 or 2 people, which ultimately affected the rest of the world, and it had nothing to do with money, numbers, or followers. It was all about impact.
Right. How are we doing on this one? You got 5 people?
We got 75, and
Yeah.
it's low because we are streaming to multiple platforms, and TikTok knows that.
That's okay. No worries.
But
Yeah.
that doesn't mean that it isn't posted to YouTube for people to go watch whenever they feel free to, and anybody and everybody can go watch it later. This isn't just live; it's recorded,
Oh, yeah, perfect.
so you can go share out to whatever platforms you're on to. Also, it'll be on. This will be on Did You Die Podcast YouTube under the live tab. I will eventually edit this and cut some out and post it to the post where those things get the most views and get seen the most. So,
Yeah, no,
and then I'll post to
absolutely.
my platforms.
I think, can I ask you, is that okay?
Sure. Yeah.
Have you had a scare in your life where you thought that you might not live as long as you did? And did you have any reasoning as to why you make these types of podcasts with NDEs and so on and so forth? Like, are you trying to find the truth yourself? Are you uneasy with not knowing what comes after? Or,
So originally, I made this. So, someone might find Jesus, right? And change their life. And so they want to bring everybody else to Jesus.
yes.
That worked for them. They're going to bring you to Jesus because it worked for them. Same thing with this platform. A platform helped change my perspective and my view of the afterlife or life in general, right? The foundations of life. And so I created what helped me. And so I could help others the way that I helped. I had struggles in life. I was probably at the darkest times I dug myself a hole so far down. And then I suppose you can say I found God. I was an atheist. I didn't believe anything. I didn't have like a scare or anything. I had struggles. After 2020, I lost everything. I was lost. I was mentally lost. Same thing with you is like I had businesses and after 2020, those businesses failed because basically self-sabotage. I can't blame it on 2020. It might be a contributor, but ultimately I was self-sabotaging myself to a point where I just gave up. I got in this deep rut, this depression, this what do you call it, seasonal depression thing that I believed in because it happened because I believed in it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I put myself in this hole, in this mental hole, and literally was probably in the depths of depression, even though I didn't probably realize that at the moment. I do now, but I also, looking back in this rut, in this hole that I was in, I started getting into like ancient Egypt and aliens and a bunch of things. And looking back now, I know what I was actually doing. I was looking for what is life. Like I was trying to find answers because what else do you do when you're in the hole? You try to find answers as to what the hell life is. And I even remember at one point before all of this, I do remember having this thought of like, you're not going to find the answers to life. If there was an answer, it would be out there, right? And even before I found a podcast ultimately I found a near-death experience podcast, and it opened my eyes to everything, and I realized it was possible. But initially, I didn't think there was any evidence of knowing of what the hell life is, or even an afterlife. But I remember a couple of weeks or maybe a month or so prior to finding God was under a carport on our weekly Friday get-togethers, talking about everything under sun, aliens, all of it, what we do when we hang out with friends. And in one of those conversations, what do you think happens when we die? And you take off the VR goggles, and then we wake up, and we all look at each other like, oh, that was wild. But I remember initially going into this conversation saying this to everybody, and I was like, can we all agree that there's not a God? Like, that's ridiculous. That's out there. And then a few weeks later, maybe a month and a half, I can't really pinpoint it, but I came across that podcast, which it was like almost within that day, my whole mindset changed. Like I was getting into before, it was like I was a different person. I own my own businesses. I did multiple things. I did it from an ego monetistical standpoint too. I needed that money. What did I need it for? I don't fucking know. I don't know why I needed the money now that I look at it. I guess ego or image, but I needed everything to be done my way. I was an asshole. I needed the money. I needed all of this. I had multiple businesses, multiple revenues. Like I still have that now, but it's a different story. I do it. This is each revenue I do is benefiting other people also, right? And so I'm giving back and it's giving back. I'm giving and it's giving back also. Um, but prior to that, I had many things. Lawn care, bargain store, photography, all kinds of stuff, and everything was done out of fear of getting money. And then once I lost everything, I dug that hole or whatever. I was in that hole, and then found a platform. In fact, it was 3 years ago in a couple days when I first saw that first YouTube video. Which ultimately just shifted my mind almost literally overnight, and anger and jealousy and all of that kind of dissipated almost overnight. I was okay with everything, which
Yeah.
I think happens to many people. There's this book by Kenneth Ring called Lessons from the Light, and there's also a statistic out there, and I am a part of that statistic, is that you don't have to go through a near-death experience to change your life in the way that near-death experiencers have changed their own perspective, right?
We are so stubborn. Yeah.
Statistically, over 80% of people who listen to near-death experiences, either daily or weekly or constantly, whatever, ultimately have changed their own perspective on life, which ultimately changed their life. And that's what happened to me.
That is what a great story, because I'm glad you brought that up, because I have the sense that it's us stubborn souls that have to experience NDEs in order for us to understand stuff, because we're so dang stubborn and so into ourselves that people like you that don't need to experience an NDE to understand and to feel the truth of it, and can have their own experiences, is 100%, you know. You don't need as much. I mean, you might be an old soul, sir. That might be a part of it, that you don't need to experience the afterlife to appreciate this life. When you hear your fellow souls speaking to you about it. Me, on the other hand, I was so hard-headed. I was so into my own realm that I became hardened, and I became very withdrawn from anything that had to do with God or life or spiritualism, that I was actually hindering myself. And it was getting to a point where it was, I was no longer happy in any sense of the word at all.
You made your own life hard.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
And
same.
yeah. And God speaks to everybody, right? And there is one thing I will say, if you don't mind, is if you want to speak to God and you want to hear God and you want to feel God, it's not as hard as you think it is. It's finding a moment of peace. Whether it's meditation comes in many forms. Meditation is the best way to communicate with God, not praying. Praying is being grateful and thankful, and being showing that you're appreciative. But meditation is being in the presence of God. Meditation is lowering all noise on the outside. And meditation comes in many forms. You could be an artist and draw. You can write a book. You can even doing dishes or whatever it is. When you're in that zone, and when you find yourself in that zone, at that moment, ask God if he's real. Just ask. And don't ask from here. Ask from here, your heart. Ask wholeheartedly, are you real? And he will answer you. And I would dare ask or give somebody, people, kind of like a task. Ask for 1 week. Just 1 week, just 7 days out of your life. Ask every day in that moment of peace, God, are you real? And see what happens. See what happens. I've done this for I've said this to many people, and more times than not, a lot of people find that peace, and they're like, I don't know what happened, but I no longer question if God is real, because I've got my answer. So that's all I ask for people, to just ask with their heart, wholeheartedly, and in that moment of peace, ask, and you'll hear the voice. So
I got chills because in a way I didn't ask. I guess in a way I asked, but not really. You know, can we all agree that God's not real? And God's like, let me show you something. Let me show you something, son. Yeah, immature little soul, you. So I wanted to ask this. We're going on 2 hours. You got time?
yeah, I got time. Go ahead.
So I've heard in multiple near-death experiences, they get told that they agreed to come to during this time on Earth to experience something in which they were told is called a Great Awakening. Do you believe that there is a Great Awakening happening? And if so, what is your understanding or definition of that Great Awakening?
The answer is yes. There is a great awakening that is happening. I would say that we've been walking around blindly for far too long, that we're actually hindering our experience here on Earth, to our own demise, in a sense of, yes, we wanted to experience what it is, but the soul and God's will always happen, regardless. And we want to experience this great awakening at this time. We want to experience the joy of it. The Great Awakening is not, in my opinion, not necessarily this, the second coming of God or Jesus, or that's not what it is. The Great Awakening is realizing how powerful each and every one of us are as individuals, and how powerful the movement or the opposite doesn't want us to realize this, because again, that's their experience, and we agree to that experience of taking away the knowledge of how powerful we are, but we have to restore it eventually, right? And that restoration is coming faster than we can believe. I do believe that nothing happens under the sun without, again, our consent, and we are part of this huge movement that is going to be aware of this Great Awakening. But it also means as well is, and I didn't say this earlier, but there's going to be a very big event, which I was kind of shown. I'm not a psychic. Please don't ask me about future crap. I don't know. But one thing I do know is that we're all going to experience all at the same time a certain event that's going to fundamentally change each and every one of us all at once. And that's going to happen. I know. Oh, you don't know? But there is an experience that we are all going to experience at once, very soon. Very, very, very soon. So
I hold on to this thought that might be a thing that happens. I've said it before. Imagine the entire world right this second. Imagine a big solar flash that comes and hurts everybody, right? So go back to your experience real quick. It was seamless, right? It was, you were in this panic, you were in this realm, and you're back in the panic.
yep.
So imagine the same thing for this great solar flash that technically hurts everybody, but not hurts everybody, and everybody has an experience like Mark has, or even the smallest, right? You've had a pretty big experience. Other people don't remember a lot of their experience, but they come back changed. So imagine everybody in the world simultaneously have an experience like a near-death experiencer does, or a spiritual experience. How flip-flop the world would instantly be.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine all the people who homelessness would end by the end of the week. Wars would end instantly.
Yep.
We would grow. There would be so much growth. I got chills because it's because the growth in our cities and the growth in just the human life restricted. Whatever.
What?
I don't know.
Careful of the big flash.
Misinformation may cause moderate harm.
Wow.
Cannot appeal. Okay, buddy.
What?
Ain't it well? Yeah, the big flash, probably. Yeah, imagine everybody's mindset change from fear to love in an instant across the planet, and how cities, you look in New York, and there's a lot of, I don't want to say they're hateful, but they're angry people in these big cities that cut people off, that they don't talk to each other on a sidewalk. But imagine in an instant everybody's perspective change and realize what life is about, how we would stop walking past each other and start greeting people and start knowing people and start understanding people and start helping people. That would be the greatest moment in human history to our knowledge. That would be a great awakening.
Mm-hmm.
It would go back to what you said. It would be a remembering.
Yep.
A remembering.
Yep. That's all we need to do.
I look forward to a great awakening, and I either this big event, whatever it is a part of it, or this great solar flash might be a part of it, or the simple tool of the internet existing could be a part of it. I think the internet is a part of us remembering, you sharing your experience, getting it out there, and everybody else, these platforms that we're on. It's one of the greatest tools of information in human history.
Absolutely, yeah.
And we're living in the best time in human history, to my knowledge.
The best time and the hardest time. Sometimes too much knowledge brings a lot of grief, and that's that would be one thing too, as well as I feel still out of place here. I don't understand humans to that sense. I don't get it. I don't understand, and this is the human side of, obviously, not the soul aspect, but I don't understand why humans do what they do, but I do understand why they do it. But I don't understand why you would want to do it, and over and over again. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like, I get it, you want to experience something, but sometimes when you over-experience the same thing over and over again, kind of loses its value. But again, that's just the human part of me. The soul understands, and it's just hard. It's hard because you feel out of place here when you want to go back home, and you lose the fear of death instantaneously, overnight. I'm not fearful of death at all.
Well, I say this all the time, is when you lose your fear of death, you lose your fear to live, which means you can go live your life without fear, fearlessly. And that changes everything. And that's what changed in me that day that I saw that podcast, or multiple podcasts, because I didn't just watch that one. I watched multiple because I was still skeptical, but I was fascinated. And then after 3 or 4 of them that day, it continued into the night. I watched it in the afternoon or early. I watched it late morning time into the afternoon, and then I went home after work, and I literally acted as if it was my job to understand, to listen to these experiences. And I did it every day, multiple times a day for the last 3 years, and let it consume my life in a healthy way. A lot of people, they see me on TikTok all the time, and the prompt is what? what happens when you die. And so kind of like you not, I guess you didn't say this, but everybody will come on here and be like, well, did you figure out, like, why are you still on this topic? Do you figure it out? Why are you so scared? And I'm not. I'm fascinated. It teaches us the fundamentals of life. And when we lose our fear, like I said, when we lose our fear, we can start to live our life freely and without this fear that everybody does,
Everything you want is on the opposite side of fear. Everything you want.
100%.
Yeah.
Fear is a liar.
It is. It's everything that you're not.
This is why we preach love over fear.
100%. Yeah. Any questions? Are we good? I mean, like, do you want me to, like, are we,
I want to talk about this.
ooh, okay. Yeah. Let's talk about that.
So you haven't read Journey of Souls, but many people talk about you had 10 beings of light. Others have 7, some people have 3, some people have said 15, some people have said like 25. But regardless, you said something that kind of fascinated me with this, and I'll talk about that in a second. But in Journey of Souls, people talk about it also. In deep hypnosis, they talk about seeing this. And again, you talked about that thing to the back left corner of yourself, that being of light, or that being, the presence. I don't know if you saw it or not.
Yeah, I saw it. Yep.
But even in Journey of Souls, this is that being, and this is you. And these are that group of 10 that you talked about, right? In this room. I don't know if you had a room, but entrance, but this being in this book, this being, a lot of people have seen this being as being Jesus, or a spirit guide, or a guardian angel, or someone the other day had the same experience, and they thought that this presence behind them to the back left was their ex-husband who had passed. And maybe it was, but that doesn't mean that it can't be the being that is helping you through this life also. But we learn in this book, and much like your experience and her experience and other people's experiences, that these I'm gonna label them a council, because that's what they're labeled in here. They have no labels.
Yep.
They're called the Council of Elders, and they help us, much like you and everybody else, walk us through our life review, not through judgment, just from understanding. But you said something that I'll get back to that. Hold on, let me fast forward. In this book, they talk about we come across this council in 2 moments of our afterlife, I guess. And that moment is at the end of your life and at the beginning of your next life, or so you've already met these beings because you came from there and you go back to there. So before you came here, or because time doesn't exist, before, I don't know how to explain this, but before you came here, you had an encounter with those beings, and they helped you choose your life. You chose your life ultimately, but they were smarter. Like, they helped you, like, you could do this and this, and if you want to learn this, here's a bunch of lives, or here's a bunch of scenarios you can add to your life and custom build your life to get to those experiences or whatever. But you said something that really was interesting, is you said each one of these beings, what did you say? Each one of these beings did a specific something.
Yeah. So each one of those beings are representative of pieces of your life that you put together, the gifts that you decided to have, and the experiences that you wanted. Hardship, love, encouragement, every single thing that you could possibly think of, one of those beings was a representative of that. And by being the representative of that, they're the ones that were showing you and walking you through whether or not you experience that to its full capacity that you wanted to experience it. And they brought to light, did you do everything you possibly could have done while experiencing it? So I remember wholeheartedly the spirit of family, and the one of giving, which is the same one, was more center left of the 10. was walking me through certain scenarios that only applied to that certain experience I wanted when it came to my family and how I treated my family and how I treated myself through that and what I experienced in and of itself. And it was almost like it's the one that put together the gifts that I have, and the other ones were turmoil that I would experience, but it was all under love. So don't think that there's evil and good ones. That's not what it was. It was they're all masters of different scenarios that we can play a part of. Now, I happen to have 10. Some people that might have 3 only wanted to experience 3 major experiences in their life, 3 big ones. And some of those people that have 3 might not live very long lives. There might be one person present that when a child dies at birth, they wanted to experience what that death was like at an adolescent age or a child or a small age. They won't have 10 guides there or 10 masters there looking at your life review. They might have just one. And that was the person that dealt with being put into this realm and then being taken out of immediately. Like it all depends on what it is you're asking for. So like I said before, we choose our gifts and we choose our experiences to go along with those gifts and vice versa. The gift of giving is usually correlates with the gift of needing, which is kind of ironic, but it's the same thing. Because you wouldn't understand what giving was unless you needed first. Right? You wouldn't feel the.
Another reason we do this podcast is for my own benefit, also to understand on a larger level. Each puzzle, each one of these is a puzzle piece. You put it together and you start to form the image, a picture of life and death or existence, right? And that's just another puzzle piece that I feel like I just collected is your perspective on these number of beings. And so I'm going to try to apply that to my investigation of near-death experiences. So if I speak to that lady with 3 beings of light, I'm going to see if maybe there was 3 solid things in their life and see if that fits that mold. And it'll be, I like this might be really profound if this fits that category. It fits that answer. I don't know what I'm trying to say. If it lines up.
If it answers why we have different amounts of people, right? Different amounts of masters.
Right.
Right.
Yes.
So it
like
also
I
answers.
don't want to sound like I don't want to say like this from an ego standpoint, but it may be true, and we're doing something that many other platforms are not. Many people don't live stream the way we do. Many people, and speaking of near-death experience podcasters, they might do 1 or 2 interviews a week. But I literally, and the people who join our live stream, we talk to 10 to 20 people who have had experiences daily for almost sometimes an unhealthy 8 hours a day.
Right?
maybe it is healthy. But regardless, we're doing something at a faster rate than any other near-death experiencer, researcher, podcaster out there. And by doing so, we're intaking all of this data quicker than most are, and we're getting different perspectives faster. And by doing so, we get these little key pieces of things, such as what we were just talking about is number of beings. We're getting the whys. Why do people have different number of beings of light? Why do people pop out of their body before an accident? Why do people not recognize their body when they leave their body? Why are people experience the void? Why do people experience hellish experiences? We're getting the whys as we collect this at just an insane amount of near-death experiencers on a daily basis, and we're getting these puzzle pieces. We're literally doing something that, to my knowledge, in human history, we've never done. Collect data from the afterlife.
Well, I hope I answered a lot of the questions that you may have as to whys of the whys. And in a sense of, again, like, we're always creators. So not everybody's going to have the same experiences at all. We're always creating our own experience, right? People are going to experience hellish transformation versus peaceful ones like mine, because they want to, and that's what their soul desires. We might not make sense of it here, but who's to say how long and how many times you've passed on? Guaranteed, this isn't your first rodeo, and guaranteed, one life you could be the hero, the next one you could be the villain. It all depends on what your soul wants to do. Now, this is, Jim Carrey did have it right. This is just one movie script that you wrote, that you're the star of. You're the one that's literally dictating what happens to you around you. You can manipulate your surroundings by simply knowing that you can. Simply knowing, because you're not affecting.
You're an actor, producer, writer.
Yes.
Filmer.
Yeah. And it doesn't affect you. So this is what's so interesting is, if you win the lottery, you're like, wow, I won the lottery. This changes everything. But there's a part of you that didn't win the lottery. There's a piece of you that didn't win it. That's going down another trail. So you're experiencing everything. Like I said, there's no past or present at all. Past or future. It's all now. So whatever you decide in this realm correlates regardless of what your life experience is going to be. It always has a correlation with it, regardless. You can still experience loneliness and be a millionaire, or you can experience wealth and be poor, right? So always keep in mind that nothing is finite. Your life is never finite. It's never going to be one way and one way only, because you have, throughout the day, thousands upon thousands of decisions that you're making yourself as to what you want to experience next. But in the whole scheme of things, it's under the same experience. You're just finiting the small details as you go along. That's all you're doing. You want to learn how to heal? Most people don't realize that they have the gift of healing. Every single one of us can heal ourselves. Our body does it all the time. We do it knowingly, and we do it without even having to think about it. Our body will naturally heal itself. Right? Sometimes we need help from other people, like surgeons, but our body ultimately will heal itself. You can heal others. Everybody can heal others. A group of 2 or 3, when you have the same, there's sirens in the background. When you have a group of 2 or more people, that healing intensifies with people. And the same thing with what you're doing here. Your podcast talking about NDEs intensifies the experience when you have more than 2 people talking, which is me, you, and God. Me, you, or Jesus. Me, you, or your whatever spirit that's always with you is experiencing. And it makes it even that much more.
Something that you said, I heard recently, it was really profound. Now, you talked about fear is still some level of love, right?
Yes. Yeah.
This man was told and came to an understanding, and this goes back to scripture, or a misunderstanding from what scripture says. And he was told, where 2 or more gather, there is love.
Yes. Yeah.
And it blew my mind, because there's scripture that's like, where 2 or more gather in my name, I am there, something along those lines. And if I am is love, if God is love, where 2 or more gather in my name, I am there. I am is love.
Correct.
Now before this, I was like, well, if that makes sense. But if two or more gather, well, two or more gather can gather in a form of a fight, but they can also gather together in the form of a dance. So is it love? But the fact that fear is also a form of love, then it still stands true.
Right. At the base of all fear is love. It's love for oneself. It could be the ego has been misrepresented. I don't believe the ego is that of a bad nature. Too much of anything can be sour to the soul, but balance is the key. Ego is what creates your confidence in oneself, especially in yourself. If you lack confidence, that means you're lacking your ego. Humbling yourself is not the same thing. Humbling down is actually more egotistical than it is to say that you're better than. Because a humbling of oneself is saying, I acknowledge and recognize that I am myself am not above this. And that's your ego taking a huge hit. But it takes a lot of ego to take that hit, knowing that you'll be okay after the humbling of oneself. So if you were to balance out your ego, you balance out your confidence, you balance out the love you have for yourself and one another, you will be living in harmony in your life, and you'll still experience what the life is, but you'll see it in a different lens. Your perspective will change overnight. It's just living in something that's too much. Too much of one thing is never a good thing, unless you're talking about love. Love is always the basis of everything. That's the only thing that you can never have an overabundance of.
Let's wrap this up.
Okay.
3 more questions. And we've already covered all of them.
It's a long one.
Listen, this has been the greatest. We're going to talk about humbling or ego or whatever, but I will tell you, this has been the greatest podcast this earth has ever seen.
Right.
It's definitely one of my best podcasts, most informative, detailed, educational, and spiritual podcast that I've posted for sure, and best one I've seen in a long time, and it's now my favorite.
Awesome, and I'm so happy to hear that I was able to say what needed to be said and with clarity, and that I appreciate what you're saying. Thank you.
What do you think the purpose of life is?
To experience
What is your definition of God?
Father, be all, and don't take life so seriously. There's nothing to be afraid of. Death doesn't exist, and I know this is more than one thing, but death doesn't exist. It's just a transformation. And go ahead fearless, because you can't hurt your soul. Your soul cannot.
Beautiful. All right. I
All
thank
right,
you
brother.
again.
You're very welcome.
You ever think about writing a book?
I have thought about it. I'm just not I'm not good at vocalizing certain aspects. Do you know what I mean? Like I have a hard time describing in full context what I experienced, and I don't want to do a disservice to others. So,
Right. Yep.
but I mean, I wouldn't
Oh,
mind if I had a ghostwriter. That would be fine. I
right.
can actually put it in more perspective.
I mean, obviously, you've probably already thought about it. If that's something that's in your cards, I suppose it'll align itself.
I absolutely will.
I think in time, I'm not going to be the only podcaster that reaches out to you now. Like, you're on the internet now. You're out there.
Yeah, it is what it is. I think the message is what needs to be said. The message is this isn't it. I mean, a lot of people are going through a lot of hard times right now. And the message is very clear, is that all good things will come, and this is only temporary. That's it. It's only a temporary thing.
All right. Well, I appreciate you. I love you. Did you have something to say?
I want to thank you for having me on here. I think you're doing God's work. I really do. I think you're an amazing host, and you're very patient, and you're very welcoming in your podcast, and I want to thank you for that. This is not an easy thing for a lot of people to talk about. But you make it very welcoming, and you're probably one of the best podcasters I've ever seen that actually do this. So keep doing the good Lord's work and the good soul's work. And I hope you I hope you have all the blessings you deserve in this life.
Thank you guys for joining us today. Please hit that subscribe button if you haven't. Share out this video to whoever it resonates with. And if you're not on TikTok yet, please come and join us on our TikTok live streams. It's a great place to hear near-death experiences every day. These are ordinary people with extraordinary experiences, and you never know what's coming up next. So I encourage you to come join our community over there. It's a very loving place, and we'd love to have you. Also, if you want to teach your children the values of near-death experiences, you can check out The Light You Are on Amazon. I'll leave a link in the description. Make sure you love yourself so you can love others, because when we love others, they can love themselves. And just in case no one's told you today, I love you.